So these are shrink fit holders. These get heated up and the hole expands and you can drop your tool in. And then when you cool it down, it shrinks onto the diameter of the tool and holds it in place. So these are good for getting into tight areas on a job. So rather than having a collet, which is a collet chuck, which has a kind of large nut on it to do up the collet, you can use these type of tools. They're simple to use. They're quite efficient and sometimes even cost effective. So this coil heats the part up until it expands enough so you drop your tool in, and then you use a cooling collet with water that runs, circulates through here, goes back to a little pump at the back and a cooling reservoir. And then after 30 seconds or so, it's cool enough to hold. So these are now evolving in the shop where we were just using collet chucks because they're fairly cheap and you can use one collet for different size tools. The body was the most expensive part, and then the collets were the cheap replacement. But they're not as accurate as these. These are a lot more accurate because there's not so many joining parts. Well, there's no joining parts really, and they're quite simple to use. So that's almost cold enough to hold, and that's it. You basically set. You put this back into your machine. You set your tool offset, your tool length, and so on. These have also evolved. These were the sort of a second step up from the hydraulic chucks. So I'll show you later. There's some chucks inside. They have like a little screw which with a piston which compresses the grease or oil that's inside, and you do up the grub screw, and it was just enough to grab the tool shank. And they're actually good because you can leave the tool set up on your machine. You don't have to come off to bring it to this shrinking station to change the insert. You've got to undo the grub screw, pull your tool out, put a new one in, and do it back up on the machine rather than coming away. But those don't have I don't think they last as well as the shrink fits. And also you have to educate your guys or your apprentices really that those hydraulic chucks don't get used on this. So I'll show you some stuff inside, which is okay. So here's an example of the hydraulic chucks. There's a grub screw piston in here, which there's a chamber of grease usually inside, and there's just enough compression to shrink the bore of the holder to grab the tool. So generally what happens is, this is the wrong type of tool to put in there because it's got these flats on it. You need the complete cylindrical barrel. So that drops in. You do this up till its tension, and it becomes locked in place. And then to undo, you just undo that screw. The pressure releases inside, and you can pull your tool out and change. So we actually don't use these much anymore in the shop. A couple of reasons, because this one was put into the shrink fit. So the apprentices got hold of this
and it's not their fault. They kind of look the same as a shrink fit, unless you're looking closely. So obviously the guy that did this wasn't educated into the differences between the tools. So he's put this into the heating mechanism, into the coil, heated that up. As you can see, it's changed colour and blown the holder apart. So I'm not sure what explosion that kind of did, if it did, but and obviously still wasn't convinced that he was doing the wrong thing and did it to the next one. So you know, these are the sorts of things that, you know, if you have apprentices working for you, you need to educate them on everything, you know, and hope they listen. You know, never in my wildest dreams would have thought I would have, you know, to me, because I've been in the industry 30 years and I know the evolution of and the tools that I've bought and how much money I've spent on these type of tooling, that I would never have put it into a shrink fit apparatus. So it's always makes me smile, kind of, that that these things slip by. And I'm sure, you know, everyone has the same sort of stories about how things can go wrong. It's an expensive lesson, but that's just the by and by of teaching, or looking after the guys, you know. And I've got good apprentices here. They obviously care, you know, but they just didn't know. They didn't know that they were doing the wrong thing. And, you know, to the uneducated eye, you know, that kind of looks the same as that. And this is, you know, it's a completely different tool holding. So, yeah, it's thankfully, well, we don't have too many of these anymore because and they do wear out, and especially, and sometimes, you know, these hydraulic things, you have to be careful. You can't be putting tools in that have got flats ground on them, because it distorts and damages the mechanism inside. You know, there's pitfalls on everything, you know, and things that you can and cannot do.